So that's kind of why in APA, I am on FINRAD with that. I'm also on the finance. So I'm very excited to mention. I want to tell you a little bit about people to do this for the distance here. So this is about mentoring in general, but I want to tell you why mentoring is really important. So while you're young, I want you to internalize the self-notion as you're moving forward. So if the African American community, there's a group of black women who think their mantra is lift while you're climbing. So that's what I want you to do. So people are going to mentor you, and I want you to mentor other people so that you don't keep it to yourself. And you're doing it for, as good citizens of the discipline of psychology, you're doing it because it helps recruit people. Psychology recruits people, and smart people, attractive people who make it good for them to be there. It's preparing people to be full participants in the discipline. It's sustaining the discipline. You can't have a discipline unless you have really smart people continuing it. It makes people successful, you leave a legacy, and all relationships with people around you. So it's very, very useful to be a mentor. And actually, we need you all in the discipline of psychology. We bring you ideas. Now you think we're gonna train you all, but we actually need you to keep the ideas for you. We need your energy, and we need actually very big on me in terms of outreach and other disciplines. So some of your work will just be psychology, and some of it will involve other and continue the legacy that psychology saw. Psychology is very important. It's when you mentor, people mention you, they're actually demonstrating commitment to the discipline and a commitment to people. Because psychology is a people discipline in many ways. So who is a mentor? And an individual can help with the career of a mentee. Okay. Some people like mentee, they like protege. And I'm going to give you the history about mentoring because you set up in terms of mythology and how that came to be. There are actually benefits. So years ago when I was given an award at Harvard Medical School, the first woman, the first person, the first psychologist to get the Mentor Award at Harvard Medical School. And when I got up and I received the award, I said, the secret of it all is that I received more than I did. But the joy of watching life evolve is a great bit of joy for me. Literally, I love it when my kids do well. I love them every kid award. I don't care what they get. There's someone got an honor one. I love it. Full professors, I love it even on the social front. I love it. It's good to go past it. Just wait, move on. Okay. So the benefits of being in a relationship. The mentor actually goes, I'm telling you this because sometimes you think I'm just taking, but they're receiving, and it's just not that at all. There's self-awareness and feeling of an accomplishment. There's a learning intellection with young people coming on board because they bring energy and ideas so that there's something you get. And then for me, the secret of it all is the pleasure of watching lives evolve. And you can't buy this in a store. You meet somebody and they're thinking, no, sure, I really do. And then some years later, they come with a kid. Then they can, I mean, that is exciting. Now, I know you haven't quite got that yet, but it is exciting for people to be that accomplished in terms of their lives. And we know this is from psychological science, I didn't make it up, and the people who do this research are German social psychologists who are the business school, like Harvard Business School, business school, call themselves social scientists, PhD in psychology. And when I have a chance, I remind them that they're one of us. So this is the research that they've done, and they have people who have mentored get higher evaluations. They do. They get higher salaries, you got that part, and they accelerated career growth. So there's a reason why you want to be mentored, is that there's a real benefit to you. I started out talking about this in short, because I don't want you to think you're just sort of treating them. If you have a good relationship, you're actually reinforcing them. But here's what happens to people who are mentored. Now, the duration. This is a little sidebar, but you remember the sideboards when you do this here. But one of my friends, who's the only black dean at Harvard Medical School, not really should be a dean, but it's a dean, she said, one of the things that people have been discovering about mentoring, there's a reluctance, which I've been talking about in the website, because people think, well, how am I going to get out of it? I said, I'm always asking that question. I don't want to start mentoring because I don't have an end of a relationship. And so I said, well, there is no mentoring. Some people, I remember I've been doing about 4 years. So some people just come and take me around down, and others are periodic. So I have my, remember I've been doing this for 4 years. So there's some people I've been doing for 35 years in this role. Once or twice a year they call. I have a concern. I'm going to have to. And then there's my steady people who still will enjoy this again. But actually, continuing over the years, it has changed. There's a more typical quality to it in terms of giving. Because they're adults by now, 35 years is a long time to be hanging out with them. Yeah.
So I get this last one. But those first three, how do you advise your mentee to create that balance? Because sometimes I have felt on the end of the mentee that they're not, as the mentor is not necessarily receptive to the study.
Okay. I'm going to tell you how to enter a relationship. You don't use the N word. You know how the other words you don't use?
Yeah.
The N word is a word that you cannot use in this. Okay, this is very important. You don't say, I want you to mentor me. That's not how you begin a relationship. Psychologists want to know, if you begin with that, how do I get out of it? Okay, so you don't want them to know that you're entering it. Therefore they're not worried about getting out of it. Okay, does that make sense? So.
I'm not sure exactly how to handle that.
Okay.
From us close.
Okay, so the thing is that
I hope that's that.
okay, hope so too. So we don't want to use the N word. That's not how you enter. So I will walk you through a little bit about how you enter it, so that it can develop into whatever you need over time, particularly if you guys mesh. Matching is really important. Okay. So the what and how. It is not, if someone should have a monogamous relationship with a mentor, that's a problem. Okay? This, because my mentees initially, I was shoving them out, but Gloria Wade Gales has written a wonderful book called Push Back the Strength, right? So come back and I push you back out there to get information from a range of people. I don't have all the answers, but it's been around a long time. 40 years, I've met a lot of people. So I can send you to people who might give you the information. You know what I mean? So let's think about it that way. So you can be serial monogamy. Now, serial is related to, murders and bad things. But this is a time when serial is a positive connotation to it. You go through a series of monogamous relations. But what I suggest in my people is the second one, having multiple mentors at one time and over time. So that means it's specific to what your needs are, okay? And maybe specific to an issue or general support. So that's what you want to do, is be thinking about it. When you leave, I'm going to encourage you to write this up and down so you can see who's in your life. And you may think, oops, this is not, I need, well, see, I'm a visual person. So some of you will put it in your heads and thinking about it, but I want you to actually write it down, and you'll have more information to write down by the time I finish about, okay, what do I have and what do I need? And need doesn't make immediately those negative connotations is what is necessary to have a successful career. That's what you need to be needy about, okay, in the most positive sense of the word. Now, mental relationships are formal and informal, and the social scientists will tell you that, it is a relationship. And sometimes you get arrangements and they work, and sometimes the arrangements don't work. Okay? The most effective ones are the informal ones where people select people and they end up developing a relationship over time as opposed to getting assigned. It doesn't mean if you're assigned someone, you will not necessarily get along with them, but more likely if you develop the relationship over time, that you're sort of growing in a relationship together to somebody, you will really put you there, and that may be a problem. Now, because it is a relationship, it's timing. Some people are in the midst of something, they can't mention you because they have other preoccupations. It's you, it's the timing, or the timing you're like, this is straight. Our personalities don't quite mesh well. And then people have relationship history. It is a relationship. Some people avoid intimacy, closeness, don't want things to stay. The other part, I belong to a group, and I'm hoping that in about 7 to 10 years you'll join. It's called the Leadership Institute for Women in Psychology. We've added a negotiation section to it because negotiation skills are critical for life about figuring out how to manage it. So you can almost negotiate anything, but it's a skill base. I actually was at Harvard Law School for a whole month, every day for an entire month. A negotiation. They fell out for the baby initially, but it was that you're supposed to do a win-win. And I like to debate, which is a win-lose. But the win-win is really very important, and I don't have time to talk about it, but learning negotiation skills. If you have an opportunity to take a course on negotiation or a workshop on negotiation, that will hold you in good stead. Because in your life, you will need to create a great deal. Salaries, job descriptions, benefits, all kinds of things. And of course, relationships are about issues of power and control. Now, this, in some ways, is related to the adolescent development piece. So the initiation stage is where I'm going to talk about how you do this. You don't use the N word. If there's somebody you are interested in working with, you say, I've read your papers, and I've read your research, and I'm really interested in getting to know a little bit more about what you do. No N word. Can I come and talk to you? Can I come into your class? Can I come to your lab meeting? That's what you do. Then you start thinking about, if this feels like a couple things, okay, what can I do to really learn from this person and be a part of it? So if they're doing a research project, is there a job that I can do with regard to that? Can I help with the literature review, writing up the introduction, do some data analysis? With women, you have to be careful. If you end up doing data analysis, you often don't, you're not a co-author, but be careful about that. But figuring out how you enter the relationship. And while all this is going on, they're getting to know you, okay, which is very important. Because it is one of those situations you're trying to figure out what to say. You'll use the N word. That what's going on is the N word without the N word being used. Okay? Yeah, I think that's really important. I don't believe in the separation. This is from one of my colleagues at Michigan State. No, just can't separate. They come back together. I said, no. Why don't they have a renegotiated relationship? So with my more senior people who are in their 40s now, mid-40s, is that we've had a renegotiated relationship. So it's to hierarchical, okay, it's more horizontal. Does that make sense? That you want when you're in a relationship, you have a purpose. It isn't just fun, and it could be. I talked about this earlier today with people in neuropsychology. It can be you need to write. So I run a clinical program right now, an internship program in Harvard. So most of the people, by the time they get to us, have published at least 3 or so papers. So they're not without having published. So you need to be thinking about, okay, this is where you have to make your connections. The people who are ahead of you, which of the professors is fair about allowing people to write papers with them? What do I have to say to that person to help me get to those papers? So one is, writing papers. The other is participating in a research project in some way. But the publications are really big now, and I've been in that position well over 25 years. Before, it wasn't such an issue, but now it is. People are looking for publications. We're not necessarily in our program, but we do notice because we use that. See, it's an interesting gauge. The gauge is whether or not they know how to involve with people who are on the faculty, whether or not the people on faculty have trusted it. That it isn't they wrote a paper, we're going to criticize the paper. No, they're having been asked, and we'll ask what the kind of role they play. We'll tell you a little bit about who they are in the context of the academy. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you send your resume in and for internship and all that, there's a lot going on when people read those things that maybe you don't know about. But I'm sharing some of it since I've been doing it for over a quarter of a century. That there's a lot going on. And so every piece of it gets scrutinized. We had 7 plots and 280 people apply, so we have to get it down to 60 people to interview. And so we're looking for all kinds of things to decide if we get 60, and then after that, which was going to be the top 7. Okay, so you get a separation stage, and you're supposed to really decide at that point, to come back and be in this redefinition stage. But the important thing for you is the initiation cultivation stage. So you're interested in making a contact, and you do your homework. Homework is really critical in life. It's nice to be just, on a whim occasionally. But psychology is a small field. I mean, the non and peak psych and clinical trial and also women and the ethnic minorities. So they're down to 4 areas. Most of us know kind of each other in each of those areas. There's no secret. And so you need to not burn bridges. Be careful what you do so that it doesn't go back later. So those are the stages of mentoring to be aware of. Psychologists are into things when they don't go well. We have to talk about this dysfunction. And earlier on today, someone asked me about well, in case you don't ask much, I will answer you. So sometimes it doesn't work as a support match. It's just get along. If you want someone to help you write a grant, don't have the competency, it just is not going to work, no matter how nice they are. They can play another role. They are not going to be able to help you. Some people don't know how to relate. They're good at numbers and crunching all that, but not people. Sometimes they neglect you. You have deadlines to meet and all, and they're not available with you. On occasion, there are boundary violations. Those things happen. I don't have to explain that to you. Exploitation, they want to use you, but not giving you any benefits of it, so that's not healthy because being exploited doesn't feel good. Just doesn't feel good. Sometimes it's inappropriate attraction, and occasionally there's just we've had that people doctoring the data, doing other things illegal, and you don't want to be associated with them. Advisors abandoning them and finishing up their dissertation. We have to try to work on how can we get the person back involved because they need to finish their dissertation so they can go for a postdoc. But all those are dysfunctional things that occur. So then I was asked the question earlier in the day, okay, what do you do? I said, you learn to back out graciously. Abrupt, I'm finished with you. One of those sessions does not really work very well. We have a word that starts with a C in psychology called consultation. You go and you talk with people that you trust and advise you about how to exercise. They'll give you advice, yes.
So you suggest terminating rather than response?
Well, you can read. Well, depends on which of those it is. Some of those you just need a little distance between me and these. Because you don't want any of that to rub off on you. You're just getting started. So that's where we're getting it. Whether or not it's redefining or termination, consultation helps. Because you are emotionally involved in it, okay? And so you need someone with a little distance, have a little wisdom, meaning older, to help you figure out what's the best way to do it. And I think abrupt, angry, doesn't work very well. So you should figure out how to do it where you're able to. I said, that when I was in graduate school back in the day, we talked a lot about successive approximations. Well, one of those, gradually as opposed to abrupt. Yeah, so you don't have a whole lot of hard feelings about it. Okay, because they have power and you have to acknowledge that power. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the mentor role. So there's 2 of them. There's the coach, who provides advice to enhance your professional performance and development. And then there's the psychosocial function, which is the role model and the support system. So you may get both of those rolled into one, or you may need to get 2 people. And we'll be talking about systems a little bit later. Now, the psychosocial role. So this may sound like parenting because it is kind of related. So the mentors that are most problematic are people who want to reinvent themselves and the people that they're mentoring. And really, it's not about that. You understand that this is somebody who's psychosocial development is very different from yours, but also just the person's different. The person's not going to be you. The person's going to be them. And you need to understand not only the level of psychosocial development, you need to understand who they are. And we want them to develop on their road, not your road. So you got your road, and they have their road. Increasing motivation is really very important. Psychology can be a tough, demanding field, and you need to be constantly motivated to keep going. When I ran a mentoring program for originally 9 and got down to 8 black women to increase the number of women who conduct research on children and adolescents, one of the things we told her, when you have a rejection of your article, put it in the drawer for 2 weeks, and then after that you take it out and rewrite it. If 2 weeks is as long as it stays in the drawer. I know it hurts. Take it out, read the comments, rewrite it, and send it in again. Okay? So the motivation is there. And then it builds in a growing sense of self-confidence, self-concept, and self-esteem. You want to build people up and not tear them down. That's the important thing because it gives them good energy to keep going. The mentor coach role, because I work in a medical facility, one of the things people are always talking about is the hidden curriculum, the hidden things that go on. So when usually people think culture, they think about what you saw initially, and I set up, I'm black, and I'm sure everyone I take that as good because it's reality testing. I mean, I hope you didn't think I was somebody else. Anyway, so one of the things about this is there are organizational cultures. So every time you go into a new organization, you need to figure out what the culture is. You can't make assumptions that you already know what the culture is. They will give you, in some instances, a formal chart that's supposed to tell you what it is, but generally that's not what it is. So I'll tell you a story. Years ago, when I used to do consultations in public schools, I would go in and I talk to the principal. I'd be very polite and very gracious. And then I said, is there a senior teacher in the room that's in your building that I probably should talk with in terms of the degree explaining for that? And he got what I was wanting. I want to know, who's running this building other than you? Because I won't be able to get anything done unless she or he agrees to it. It's just being realistic. So pay attention to the formal chart. Then you want to know who's doing what, okay? So there are overt and covert requirements. So I tell my interns, even if they don't want to come to the system, you have to show up. It's called a command appearance, CA. And you learn how to circulate the room in the 15 minutes, make sure everybody is seeing you, and you leave in 15 minutes. There's art to that. There's art to coming in the door, graciously going through, and, so you've done that. But you need to show up. The whole business of not showing up at certain events doesn't work because people draw conclusions about you, like you're not part of the group and you're being difficult and all those other things. So, so learn how to do that. The older you get, the more masterful you are. People say, I thought I saw you. Because I thought I saw you. Let's see. You saw it, and she came, and she went. So the overt and covert requirements are really important. Expectations about what you're supposed to do, and the organizational culture. Then this person is a guide in giving instruction. They're a role model. So one of the things is to go to meetings with people like this because they model how you're supposed to pull things off. So this is an example I gave earlier today. At one point, senior people are not interested in doing all the work it takes to get on the program and major conventions and conferences. That's really the truth. So I tell my people, what you do is there's someone in your area that you want to get to know, and they're senior, is that you write them and say, I put together a fabulous panel, a symposium, and I need to have a chair. Would you like to chair? All they have to do is send you their name and their whatever, just basic information, and they're on the program. Or, now that's usually the people out there for 40 years. So the 20-year people out, what you do the thing is you say, would you like to be a discussant? And then you put their names down as discussant. Now, you have to follow up on this, and your coach will tell you how to do this. You write them a thank you note, thank them for doing that, and you let them know these are my areas of interest, and here are some papers that I've written, in the hope, and it has really worked, that when they do an edited book, they might invite you to write a chapter, a full author chapter. If they are putting together a special edition of something, they might invite you to do that. But they'll remember you just because you took the initiative to get them involved. Okay? So it's about playing, not just a game, but playing the game in ways that really will facilitate your career. So be thinking about the people you want to meet. So at our retreat, what I did very pointedly was to tell the young women, are there people in your field that you need to meet? I want you over the next few years to write them, find out what social hours they're going to at APA, and go over and meet them. How are you going to meet them otherwise? The advantage of meeting somebody who's been out 30 or 40 years is that they have a network that will teach you years to stretch. You have to, you don't go and say, I don't know anything about your network. Just, you just go and say, I just want you to see your face here. I'm really interested in the work that you do, and I would like to stay in touch with you and you in touch with you. Knowing that you're going to have to initiate. Okay? That's how the world works. Now, when you have a mentor who's been out 40 years, and they're doing this 4 years, and they travel around at all the social hours, and have these people. There was a man who's now since passed on, who was the first director of Head Start. He was a pediatrician, so it wasn't a psychiatrist, but he had a psychiatry at Children's Hospital. And we, in Boston, we do not meet in Boston. We meet at Logan Airport, or Reagan Airport. So I'd be at Logan Airport, and there'd be other doctors there from Harvard who say to them, you need to know Jessica Daniel. And I would say that in my breakfast. But I'd smile and be gracious and be introduced. But that's, so I've been taking, I've been taking Dr. Richard said. So when my young people with me, and I try and want to say, oh, I said, this is someone you need to know. I really need to know you, because I'm fortunate in either the internship program or BU having really, really smart students, and they do need to know them. They do, because they're going to be the movers and shakers. So it isn't just, reading Dr. Richmond incarnate about that. It's just I really do want them to know that. Okay. All right. So, and then being an advocate. So you want people who will advocate, will tell you their information, tell you about grants you can apply for, tell you awards, all kinds of student awards in APA. They want you to be a part of that. And my dad's advice is this great education. Somebody's going to get the award, and might as well be you. Really, right? And you can get yourself nominated. Somebody give you that. Yes, that's the way it works in terms of moving forward. And the mentor has to have a mindset, just knowing there are differences between people, and those differences factor in terms of goals. As I said, I don't try to create a me, because people have enough of themselves to work on and create. So roles are not stagnant, meaning when people I met 35 years ago, it's not the same role now. You're all over. There's fluidity in relationships. People may take turns in being in instructor mode and effective role. I mean, it just depends, because people become effective. And I tell mentors to be guides to learn from their mentees. If you don't be afraid to teach people things that you know. I just know, particularly technology and things like that, because they're really good at that. Now, this is usually something you don't hear about mentoring, but I am big on how to be a mentee, because it matters. Let me just tell you that there are two kinds of mentors that are involved. Mentors who can tolerate people and say, I don't know what I want to do. And others that can't tolerate. You need to have a goal. You don't come talk to me with, I don't know what to do. I want you to have a goal. So I can tolerate both of them. Now, the first one, after about 6 weeks, we have to move from that. There's a 6-week point in which we say, enough of this. Next time you come in, you have to have a goal. Where do you want to know? Now, we'll come back to the next time. So clarity about goals really helps. Part of it really helps the mentor help you. If you're all over the place, they don't even know where to begin. You need to value and seek advice. So please and thank you are still, the things your mother's taught you when you're 3 and 4 are still applicable here. If somebody goes out of their way, gets and reads your various applications and all, at the end, send them an email thanking them for it. They didn't have to do that. That's work to get your manuscript in order. So that I'm interested in working with people who will work hard Psychology is not something you do on the fly. You really have to work hard. When you read those journal articles, people have worked hard on it. It's not the same results. They have worked, and that's part of our skill. And attention to details and deadlines. When applications are due, when nomination letters are due, they are due. That's not I think I'll send it in a week later. It's over. So when I work with people, I say to them, you need to pay attention to deadlines and get things in on time. And then a commitment to it. You can tell some people, it's sort of issue, I don't know, other people gun ho about it. Integrity helps. Be honest. Something is going on and you can't don't make a commitment you can't. And you can really sort of appreciation is important and demonstrate initiative. So my DU students now come to me telling me about things that they found on social media that might be of interest to me while I'm showing them things that I think will be interesting to them. So it's back and forth, even though they're still just graduate students. But they're graduate students who are very, very ambitious. So pushing them along and trying to get them to move along. So clarity about goals. Do not be discouraged if you're not clear what you want to do. You need to then talk to people in your program and say, which of the faculty is most comfortable, people are not sure where they want to go. So burn bridges with the people who are annoyed when you don't have clarity about what you're doing. And they will be annoyed. Now, this part here is new in terms of the science of mentoring, and it's called developmental network. And mentoring is more than a dyadic relationship one-on-one. Okay? It's a community of mentors and it's developmental networks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And this is what I'm hoping when you leave here that you will actually make a list of them so you will know the people in your life. I want you to live consciously, not here and there and whatever. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't have fun, but I want you to be serious about this career business because there are other people who are being mentored and they're very serious about it and they'll pass you by. So, yes. Okay.
So they've always gone through graduate.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. No, you didn't tell me they're your junior faculty. I'm sorry. You could have told me you're junior faculty. Okay, she said this applies. So you didn't say that not to hurt my feelings, right?
No, I didn't even think you were talking.
Oh, okay. All right. So the community of mentors, because I want you to actually, when you leave, thanks so much. When you leave, I want you to make a list of these and sort of lay your life out, visual. And when you sort of look, you go, I need some in this area. What you need. That's not that you're needy. Okay, let's be clear about this. These are things that are critical to your success. It isn't you're needy, but have been demonstrated to be critical to people's success. That's kind of the story here. So you need peer mentors. So if you're a young faculty, you need someone at your same level. You all share information. Okay? Then you need e-mentors. That's people who are not where you are, but you email. That's how you do that. And you need co-mentors, meaning there's reciprocity in the mentoring. Now, one of the problems at the Leadership Institute, people have discovered is that women tend to be one-sided in mentoring. They're doing all the giving and not having much receiving. And that is a drain. And if you're junior faculty and you're really nice people, the students are coming to you and they're draining you. So you need to have somebody who will replenish you, not just your plate all the time. And you need a scholarly research mentor and a career mentor. So you, in terms of the scholarly research mentor, you need people who are actively helping you move that career and they know the secrets of it all. I tell people you can read 100 articles, it will not tell you how to write your own articles. You need someone to review it. I'm an associate editor of one of the journals, and when sometimes they come in, I go, nobody read it. No one read this article before they sent it out. And now, instead of writing a scathing review, which to me would be really felt mean and discouraging, I write something to the effect of having someone review it before you submit it, and being mentored about how to write a journal article. But what good would it be, to write 4 pages of criticism? That just doesn't feel right. Have a couple of senior people look at it with you, and over, just gradually redo it, and then send it back to you. Okay? And then the career mentor. So you need developmental networks as well. You need colleagues. They're not necessarily your psychologist. You need family, friends, mentees, and people below you. Okay? Now, you can actually, and I can send this information, Dr. Townsend, see what this looks like, but the developmental network is people who help you get the job done. Now, most of my work is, I'm a woman, on that. So most of my work is with women. So women have multiple jobs. They have the job done to get paid for, and then they often have little people, husbands and spouses or partners, and that's a whole other job. And the fact of the matter is that job is as big as the other job, but you're getting paid for the job. So what I say to them is when we did the retreat, people say, this happened at retreats. I said, well, I'm making it up as I go. I don't know, because I never had this retreat. We had a whole 2 or 3 hour session on help that women need to have careers. So at that time, let's see, there were 8 women who actually stayed, but one had 2 children. And since then, they've all married, and everybody except one has had children. This has been a while. But we said, this is 3 mentors there myself. Okay. If you have a little person and your spouse is working, you need somebody to come and help you in the house. Even if it's not every week, you need every 2 weeks. You need to sacrifice it because when you come home from work, you will not feel like doing it, and the house will get a total disaster, and it'll be hard for you to survive. So you need, that is not it would be nice to have someone clean my house. No, you need somebody to clean the house. When in doubt, try to hire somebody to do it. Okay? So, and the other thing is when little people come along, they may be this small, but they totally change your life. Okay, it will never be the same again. And you need to have backup here. You can't just have you can't have this for daycare because they won't take one of their little noses or anything. He goes, who's going to take care of little so-and-so when you have to go to work? I mean, this is very serious. This is not I think I'll work on it when it happens. No, it's going to happen. And it will happen again when they go to nursery school because whatever the other kids bring in, they bring in, and then they make use of it. So that first child is going to make you sick. And then the sicker they are, the more they want to kiss you. So you definitely are going to get sick. I mean, I have my kid is really old now. Older than probably most of you here. But that's what happened. And now I'm going to get sick. But, so the people you need to advance your career external to work are as important as the people at work. Because if you're worried about your family and you spend a lot of energy there, you won't be able to get things done. So we approach that directly. It's not like, well, maybe, and no. And even if you don't have a spouse and children, you do have a life. You live. You're a human being. So you can, make yourself a report. Every 2 weeks, somebody comes to the place that's totally fall apart. You have backup here. And actually, you want those peer mentees around you because they can tell you about finding care and finding people who can take a child on a basis. All that. Those are really critical things. So that help you get the job done. Okay, that's the outside. Help you get the job done within is to disclose the secrets of the organization. So when you take your job, this is what I've been saying to people who leave me for. Okay, all right. So if I'm not going to tell you all of it, but I'm just going to do some of it. So, but this is important since people didn't talk about it, but I'm just going to talk about it. All right. So you need someone who will tell you about when you negotiate a job and you may move along. The most recent hire can tell you a little bit about the job and salary. So every time I tell someone, you need to ask about salary. You go, oh, she won't tell me. Everybody's told. They also told about the lab space. They just told. I said, if women will tell, and then the next person tells, people won't get stuck with something they can't really manage. When you take an academic job, there's some things you need in order to get your profession underway. And you need to be paid at the level. In private institutions I've been for my whole career, none of that's public. But in public institutions, you can find out. And you can also find out through APA. But, so you need to make, and you also need to have last space, systems, and things like that. You need that information to get the job done. Now, there you are not having anything at all, and people say, well, you're not being very productive. And, you're not this. And the other thing is, can you negotiate around the teaching load? So that's the other thing. I mean, these are things that you won't know. As a there, let me just tell you that one of the things, I'm in the middle of a big thing in my life right now, but one of the things that I've learned is that asking for help doesn't mean I'm stupid. Being what I look like, and when I went to graduate school for 60s, you know, I was the only and only, I was so worried about it. They said, the black kids having help. Almost everybody gets help. So it isn't that that makes me unusual, you know. So I'm getting help with what I'm in the middle of doing now, and I think it is very normative. I was, you know, no problem. Well, that's kind of the way it works. And then you need personal support as well. So you need, and what I've done in my life, and one more thing, and we'll talk about, what I've done is that I formed 2 black women speaking groups in Boston. They're like 34 and 37 years old. That, you know, we have grown up together. The 34-year group, we've all lost our parents in 34 years. I don't think anyone has a lot of parents. The children are grown and all kinds of things. But, you know, when you're there with someone that long, you don't have to tell a whole lot. They kind of get it. And one group is very proper and one is very improper. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed both groups. And we would get together once a year or have a joint meeting with a writer. But I'm just saying, you need to have a point where you can let it out. You need, and that's a part of your success. And I think, you know, men need as well as women, but women particularly because of the things that they do. So the relations are close, distant, or monitor. I can actually explain some of these things. But I know we're, I guess I should say this, so low and small. Don't run bridges. So be careful. I know who's next to you. That helps a lot. So be careful what you say, and you come back to hush. You never know who's next to you. But I'll end on this, and you know, there's one question, and then we'll move on. Okay. Yeah.
I believe that those first day had almost like a sensitivity, but it was just sciences, and it talks about this work-life balance. I think we're getting to how to manage that. So, you know, actual strategy would help manage that work-life balance. Having support, giving back of care, all of those things. A lot of times people don't tell you, and you don't do it until it's necessary. I mean, I'm older than many of you, and I didn't do it until it was necessary. Had somebody said that, I would have had that in place when I had my first one. I was supposed to, oh, God, we have to do. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think this was really good. Yeah.
So I'm glad it is. Now, just wish me, you maybe that I will get the money to replicate the retreat I did with those women in 1999, which is like 15 years ago, because I want to do it with Black, Asian, Latino, and Native American and white women. And I want to take them away, and I want them to be colleagues for the next years. Close, you know, looking at children and adolescents. Can you imagine? Yes. And because what it will be is that you guys will share. I mean, you go away to a nice resort, kind of this is what I did. And I know how to manage money, so we went to a nice resort in Maine. And we got, I paid it with SRA, you know, and I was, you know, I just squeezed some money, so I got everything out of it. But that would be really exciting. I can't get anyone to fund me, but if I'm successful, what I want to do in the fall, I'm hoping it will make me have contacts with people who will let me do that. Because I think it will transform the lives of the participants, you have to be early career psychologists, transform their lives, but also build a network. Can you imagine doing the same women over 40 years doing this work, and you're all interested in children and adolescents? That is real into power. That is real power. So you've been very gracious and attentive, and I'm glad that it was done. So I thank you very much. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For the fall. So thank you very much. And I actually don't want to.
No, can I say it? Okay, all right. I mean, someplace I can say. So I'm running for ACA president. Yes, that's what this is here. And let me just tell you that there have been 4 people of color in the 122 years of existence. And the first one was Ken Clark in 71. He's the man who was responsible for the science related to the 50-40 vision. And the reason why he was in that was that Thurgood Marshall and Kenneth Clark all lived in the same apartment building in New York City in Harlem. So they knew each other. I just discovered that recently. And also, if elected in 16, it would be 45 years after he was president, and I wanted to invite his daughter. I now know someone who knows his daughter, and I wanted to invite her and to give, my theme is about being a citizen psychologist, to give him, of course he's gone, a citizen psychologist award. Because I really want that to happen. So people say, you can run again. I said, no, I want to win. I'm president in 16 so that I am able to really celebrate this with him. Now, I'm also running, and it's hard, I'm running a lot, because I want other women of color to run, and I want white women also continue to run. But somebody has to open the door. And so I was the first black woman on the board of directors, and now there have been 3. So some, and I'm just, I was raised in this era, so you just do what you have to do. And I want you to be living a life where you open doors to other people as well as yourself. Okay? That it's just not you going through, but other people are going through. I think that's really very important. So this is not about me adding another person, because I've had lots of firsts in my life as a black woman at this point. But I want to open the doors so that other women can run. I also want to be funded for that program where I could bring those 5 groups of women together to be friends for 40 years. I'll long be gone when you all have been together 40 years, but the impact, I can just see it, would be tremendous. Because think of what those women have done. It's been absolutely amazing. Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
And the mentor is like a key player in this junior investigator achieving their career.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't many to choose from in the local area.
Mm-hmm.
You can't run that bridge.
No, you can't. You
can't
can't.
run it. So it's dysfunctional and no communication, you're like either rarity. The third thing of the month. You're not reading it. I don't want to come across as begging you,
Mm-hmm.
What do you suggest in this type of situation?
Okay, so you have options. Some of them radical and some not so radical. The not so radical is to get a consultation about how to manage it. Talk to somebody about it because you're really right close. You're close up to it. The other is that there's not a possibility of real change of your thinking about relocating, if at all possible. And you can't relocate. For family reasons, okay. Then you got to figure out, have that person help you figure out how you can manage it. You may have to find someone else separate from that you get long distance mentoring. But remember that you pay a high price to be in a very dysfunctional relationship, a close relationship. That's important. It's the price is your health, your physical health. That's my worry. Now I won't say all that, but I have been in a stressful situation where I am for over 40 years. And I've been able to manage the 2 reading groups. I have a church family. I mean, I don't have any book under I'm living, but I have people who have helped me survive it. So I don't have any medical problems. But you could have developed medical problems that you are not easily fixed. So that's my one concern about you. And you need to watch that, because if they start creeping in, even though for family reasons, you may have to figure out something else. Because my mother would say your health is your wealth. Okay. You're welcome.
I don't know if
Absolutely.
I'm only rushing because the folks
Absolutely.
come in.
Okay.
At 3 o'clock.
All right, no problem. No problem.
So we're going to have to wrap it up. That's all. I think that's why you're
I was just going to say one thing I've learned is to also investigate and check references from previous mentees about the quality of the relationship, because, that might be a good predictor of how well the relationship will have. Some people just have a history of getting along fabulously with their mentees, and others have a completely different history. And so that's something I wish I had known.
Yeah.